Without a doubt, this week is the biggest and most important week of Arsenal's season. Of all the storylines that have dominated the Gunners' turbulent season, none best that of the current Arsenal manager coming up against his predecessor in a Europa League semi-final. Emery versus Arteta has been a dominant storyline leading into the first leg of the semi-final, and while the first leg went to Emery, Arteta will be determined to secure a victory in the second leg as well as a spot in the final. While much has been made about Emery and Arteta's respective records at Arsenal, this video will delve into the main differences between the two coaches as well as the reasons why Arteta is a better fit for the Arsenal job. The general impression that Unai Emery left among Arsenal's backroom staff was of a man so consumed by the game that he did not always find it easy to relate to others. During his time at Arsenal, Emery worked long hours and would often be at the club's training ground till late. While he was consumed by the tactical side of the game, during his time at Arsenal, his issue was communicating his tactics concisely. A huge part of the problem for Emery was the language barrier. While Emery had a translator at the training ground, his preference was to communicate directly. If he asked one of his assistants to pass on instruction, there would generally be no problems as their English was much better than his. However, when Emery spoke himself, clarity was an issue. While you can't fault the Spaniard for wanting to do everything in English, it is understood that tactical and training sessions were extremely hard for players to grasp because of Emery's inability to communicate effectively in English. On the other hand, Mikel Arteta has a natural facility and flair for language. Even on the touchline, he changed between English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. While team talks are led in English, he is happy to be flexible for different players. While the language barrier is not necessarily an issue for every coach, take Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds as an example, Emery's language issues were compounded by his coaching technique. Emery is a coach who finds analysis and discussion critical. Over time, the squad became accustomed to Emery narrating a series of clips that demonstrated the opposition's strengths and weaknesses. Arteta, on the other hand, takes a more visual approach. Arteta's tactical sessions involve a basic tactical image using a whiteboard and markers, and with Arteta, players just watch the board and you know exactly what he's trying to tell you just from the images. Another key difference was that Emery was keen to pass on as much tactical information as possible, while Arteta believes that less is sometimes more. Usually Arteta's game preparation is tailored to the 48 hours before the game. However, if Emery had 5 days free in a run-up to a game, he would use every single one of them. With coaching, it takes discipline for a manager to say, "We're going to have a rest day." With Emery, there are times during his reign where the day before a game, the team would spend 2 to 3 hours on the training ground as Emery attempted to perfect the team's shape and structure. However, the longer the session went, the more frustrated and drained the players would become, and the less likely they were to absorb the lessons. Arteta's focus is on shorter, sharper, and clearer sessions. For players, Arteta has brought a greater correlation between what happens on the training ground and in-game scenarios. This was most apparent when it came to playing out from the back. Under Emery, once goalkeeper Bernd Leno had passed to one of the center backs, there wasn't much more structure or planning underpinning it. When Arteta came in, he applied a clear set of principles that the team quickly adopted. Overall, while Emery was generally liked amongst the Arsenal squad, he was not widely loved. Emery's sole focus was on being a head coach, and a head coach alone. He believed that was his strength, and that narrow focus was a big reason as to why he was hired. People warmed less to Emery, not because he isn't a warm person, but because he didn't see it as his job to form those relationships with staff. Consequently, that created a gap between him and other departments at the club. Arteta has a broader range of interest than Emery, perhaps because having worked under Wenger as an Arsenal player and then Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, he recognizes that holding wider responsibilities enables him to consolidate power. From the day Arteta arrived at Arsenal, he acted as a manager and not just a head coach. One of the key reasons why Arteta's stock is so high within the club is that he is skilled at both managing up and down. He understands the importance of making people feel like a team, and upon his arrival, almost immediately, Arteta sought to win the hearts and minds of the backroom staff. Under Emery, these people had felt ignored and grown resentful about the grueling training schedule and lack of days off. Overall, Arteta's management and communication skills means he is more popular at Arsenal. However, an element that remains somewhat shocking is how quickly it all unraveled for Emery after the Europa League final loss in Baku. No matter who you are, if results do not go your way, relationships quickly crumble. Before this pivotal second leg semi-final against Emery's Villarreal, this should serve as a warning to Mikel Arteta. While there are still many that still trust the process, there are some whose confidence in the project is waning. To clarify, we are not just talking about the fools amongst the Arsenal Fan TV group, but instead about the larger and entire fan base. As they have done so all year, my trust remains in the process and with Mikel Arteta. I will not deny that this Europa League semi-final will play a pivotal role in Arteta's future, but one thing that is for sure is that Arteta, unlike his predecessor Emery, has been a far better fit for Arsenal Football Club.